Muy buen día, muy buena tarde y muy buena noche a
Good
cada uno.
morning, good afternoon, good night. We are starting today with our third meeting of Module 2. We saw in previous days the important information of Carolina that she shared with us and that allowed us to share our ideas about the process of research, the content of research, making an emphasis in the process of writing, the writing process, which is fundamental so that when we present our case studies, we were able to convey in the spirit of what we want to say, but with the quality that we need to in order to share our content. Today, we're going to start again with the intercultural research module. Thank you for your time, your disposition, and motivating you to do this session with all the commitment, being here and today. Being here, being today, being now. Our invocation today, as part of our cultures, spirituality is expressed in different ways, and our spirituality, music, is fundamental. So we are going to share a song dedicated to each one of you, to our ancestors, to the girls, to the women that are to come, that are part because of it's International Women's Day. I think we're together in this process, providing strength to our women and our link with Mother Earth. So we're going to start by dedicating the song to you. The second moment, when we finish the song, it's in Spanish. If maybe some words can be translated, we will be thankful, not the song itself, but maybe some words, keywords of the song brings. It's for you. It's dedicated to you. And then prepare, what does being an Indigenous woman mean to me? But we're not going to do it with long sentences. We're going to say it in one word. What does being an Indigenous woman mean to me? So when the song ends, what each one of us is going to say what it means to them to be a woman with one word, and that's going to be the exercise of our invocation. We thank your energy, we thank your light, we thank your happiness and your strength, and we place this session in the hands of the beings of light, of water, of air, of fire, and the work that we are already starting to be able to carry out our case studies, which I think is going to be an awakening, a personal and a collective awakening with the people and the women in terms of our research. So welcome, and we're going to see and hear this video. I was born between mountains and weavings of fire, air, and water. I've been dancing on the corner of the universe. I'm a grain of corn in the fields of time that has been planted in a field with the sun, with the song of the sun. That is what I am. That is what I am. Like my grandmothers with their warrior soul, like the earth, I have a dark skin. I'm an Indigenous woman, and I am born from the moon. This is my strength. Like my grandmothers with their warrior souls, like the earth with a dark skin, I am an Indigenous woman. And I am a grandmother of the moon, a granddaughter of the moon. That is my strength. The song is being sung in Indigenous language, and unfortunately, we can't translate those words, but we will try once they go back to Spanish.
Camino en mis entrañas la historia de mi abuela, de mi madre, mis hermanas, sin miedo ante el sistema, resistiendo estamos, nos reafirmamos.
We resist against the system, and we are here fighting for our rights with the strength of our heartbeat and the strength of our rebellious streaks. This is who I am. I am an Indigenous woman.
Como la tierra, yo tengo piel morena, soy mujer indígena, nieta de la luna, esta es mi fuerza. Como mis abuelas con su alma guerrera, como la tierra, yo tengo piel morena, soy mujer indígena, nieta de la luna, esta es mi fuerza.
This is my strength. This is my strength. Being an Indigenous woman, being the granddaughter of the moon, that is my strength.
Muy bien. Muchas gracias.
Okay. Thank you so much. Dedicated with all my heart to you, and dedicated to your ancestors and all the beings that have given you a sense of being and the life. That this International Day of Women's Rights allows us to continue pushing a path for the livelihood. To me, being a woman, Indigenous woman, is being root, is being fruit, and it's being a path. You have the floor. What does being an Indigenous woman mean to you in one word?
Voy a nombrarlas.
I'm going to call you by name. Nukila, what does being an Indigenous woman mean to you in one word?
Proud of myself.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Proud. I'm proud.
Thank you.
Doban?
Being a wilderness woman.
Ming?
Me?
Me, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about it. I think I would represent a mother. Thank you.
Anaya?
Knowledge keeper.
Vivian?
Vivian?
Seguimos con Nadia.
Nadia?
Nadia, dijo Lore,
Sí, Nadia.
que ser mujer indígena para mí es
To me,
fortaleza.
being an Indigenous woman is strength, wisdom.
Gracias. Alina?
strength.
Ángela, seguimos con Naina,
Naina, Naina,
Liz,
Yes. Indigenous women are
yes, we're listening.
they are
Muy bien.
native and they have their different culture and religious and
Gracias. Gracias. Vivian,
Thank you. Vivian?
For me, I would say using one word, resilience.
muy bien. Gracias. Liz,
Excellent, thank you. Liz?
muy bien. No. Samay,
We don't have her audio, unfortunately. Samai? To me, being an Indigenous woman is always raising my voice.
gracias. Fátima,
Thank you. Fatima?
Jessie,
You could, Jessie?
Buenos días.
Good
Para
morning. To me, being an Indigenous woman is resilience, strength, and happiness.
Jenny
Jenny Ling?
Para mí es bondad.
To me, it's kindness.
¿me falta alguien, por favor?
If I'm missing anybody, please raise your voice or raise your hand. To
Muy
me,
bien.
it's being Mother Earth. Thank you, Dunan. Anybody else
Muy bien.
that we're missing?
Esa energía vamos a
Okay, so with that energy, we're going to thank today to the day that we have had for some of you, for the morning that's starting to others, or the midday or the afternoon that's already happening for some. And with our hands raised, we are going to thank for everything we have received, all the road walked, all the strength, the resilience, the fight, the walk of the path that our ancestors have walked, the ones that we knew and that we didn't know, those that are in the energy of water, of fire, of air, of the earth. Thank you to each one of you because they opened a path for us, because they broke through any blocks, any roadblocks, and because many of them left their lives or gave their lives so that we can be sitting here expressing ourselves, sharing this with each other, living and demanding rights as Indigenous women and as Indigenous peoples. Thank you to Mother Earth as well, Mother Water, and all the feminine energy that is in the cosmos and in Mother Earth. Thank you to you for your light, for your energy, for your strength. Thank you for your commitment in the territory that you are living. Thank you to all your coming generations as well. And we give thanks also to all the women that maybe, even if they're women, are carrying out actions against women. We ask that their energy be healed, be cleaned, and that they add on to the collective fight of women and peoples in pro of women and people. And we hug each other with this, or hug ourselves with this energy. If you have a piece of clothing from your peoples, you hug it and you say thank you once, twice, 3, and 4 times. I'm going to give Nina the floor. Welcome.
Yeah. First of all, happy International Women's Day to you all. And I wanna say something about the Indigenous women. And Indigenous women are a daughter of Mother Earth, actually. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm translating for you. You're good.
Sí la escuchamos.
Yes, we hear you.
Gracias. Muy bien.
Thank
Entonces,
you.
con esta energía con la que
Okay, so with this energy that we're starting today, and with the energy of earth, of fire, of wind, of water, and the strength of our ancestors and the women that are close to us and the women of the new generations, we're going to start and continue with our work today. We are going to complete the part of what we were missing on intercultural research, and so we're going to start, and in time we are going to do the presentation of what you have foreseen in terms of methodology. So we're going to start with this part, recapping our past sessions and what we shared last week. I don't know if you can see the presentation. Okay, perfect. So we are going to remember that what is intercultural research? We said that it's an action, a political and collective action, and it's a collective asset because it's not a production of knowledge and of feeling, thinking of one person, but it's of one community, of one people, where researchers carry out the job of weavers, where we weave all that knowledge, all that feeling, thinking, and all that collective sciences for the revalorization and defense of the territories and the natural common assets and those historical knowledge that remain and are present in history but have not been registered, and that the challenge is that this is left for the present and future generations. That's the part of the intercultural research that we are trying to save, and it's a part of gathering those cosmic knowledge, those feeling thinkings, but from the voices of women with their diverse points of views, their different perceptions, to be able to build methodological and ways of thinking that are unique from their people, saving two fundamental points of view: the point of view of women and their peoples, but also their context, the political, social, economic, and cultural context, internationally, nationally, and locally, that have created an impact on these stories and on these peoples. Another element that we want is that intercultural research provides science, knowledge, and experience, and proposes. So it's not just generating cosmo knowledge or information that is qualitative or quantitative. It also provides answers, solutions for cosmo knowledge and the intergenerational knowledge. So our processes and our case studies allow that dialogue, that intergenerational dialogue of knowledge, where when we are carrying out the research in the field, we can bring grandmothers, adult women, girls, boys, grandfathers together to create that intergenerational dialogue. It also allows for the feeling, thinking, and the cosmo knowledge that are that is being held for the life to be exposed and to be made public. It's not okay to just have the white knowledge out there. We have to write in our documents, in our case studies, these cosmo thinkings, these feeling thinkings of how we take care and defend life as Indigenous peoples. It's also important to recover the cosmo knowledge and the feeling thinking to transform and build what goes against life and destroys life. So our job is to create some awareness on the problems that are happening in an everyday basis that is affecting, for example, and it's generating violence against women, that is affecting the health system of Indigenous peoples and women, that is creating an impact in pollution of the atmosphere, and that has weakened these knowledge that we have for the caring of Mother Earth and the environment, for example. Also, it must allow that feeling, thinking, and that cosmo knowledge allows us to bring forth solutions or bring forth ideas for the fight of the rights of women and Mother Earth, so that our studies must allow to have visibility of what collective and individual actions do the Indigenous women, Indigenous communities, Indigenous peoples carry out to defend Mother Earth and defend the rights of women. So back 50 years back, the Indigenous communities were fighting for rights and women were fighting for the rights. So what rights were being fought for? So rights existed way before they were being respected. They've always existed, and there's been a fight that has been historical in getting us to where we are today. So the idea is that your studies can reveal that, can present that, and make it public. Something else that we want to be able to achieve with these case studies is that it gathers the cosmo thinking and feeling thinking of, and the different experiences and cosmo visions of women, men, and children in the different generations. Our case studies must make visible these points of view, these proposals, and those cosmovisions of our peoples as a whole. And it's important to make visible the people and their relationship with their natural surroundings, what they feel, what they have lived, what they know of the story of their peoples or the subject that we want to research on, what they think, what they feel, what they do, what they say. And what theories do our territories have, and do our peoples have, or our communities have, where we are doing our field studies? And how are we going with those ideas to break that monopoly of knowledge and power of knowledge that white people have? Because we're going to showcase in our studies that there are other sciences, other cosmo knowledge, other collective knowledge from Indigenous communities and Indigenous women. That's important to take on, and the experience of research is a political exercise. It decolonizes, and it depatriarchalizes, and it provides a relief to the community, because it's not an exercise of one person, of a person who knows and feels powerful because they're researchers. It is a work of the community. It's that dialogue, that exchange, where the researchers are just weavers of knowledge. We are listening, we are writing, we are working with our mind, with our soul, we are observing, and we allow that dialogue happens from the local realities. And also we question and we get over the Eurocentric hegemonic harmony. Because with our studies, we're saying there are other ways to carry out research. There are other systems. There are also cosmo feelings. There are almost other cosmo knowledges. There is not just one knowledge, one way of doing things. And research as a political tool to change and shift the power struggle, to heal international conflicts. Why? Because when we're doing our research exercise, in that dialogue, in that exchange of knowledge, we are achieving, or we're going to be able to bring to light problems and subjects that have been plaguing communities. For example, I think about violence that has happened and has been that has gone on between men and women and how that has hurt our communities. So how do we heal the violence? And where does it come from? Where we understand that it is not just bad men or women who are victims, but we have a patriarchal system that has generated these relationships of violence, of conflict, and of power. And how our field studies will allow for us to do that healing, not just in a cold interview, but an interview where we can accompany people, women, men, and communities and grandmothers work a subject, and at the same time they heal. That's the research. That's another important element of the intercultural research. And we must take that into consideration. It also recognizes that we need to build the hegemonic feeling and thinking, because that's the only way to build the world, because we're going to weave our own dialogues and ways of doing research from our language, from the weaving of our territories, where we don't come as a researcher to invade, to extract information. We come here to generate dialogue. We make visible collectively the science, the systems that exist, and we get here so that the communities will denounce all the problems with their voice and their problems, and together we weave communities and studies to be able to leave proposals and collective actions, and where we identify collective solutions, not recommendations of the researcher, not her proposal, solutions that are born from the communities themselves. All our work, our research work, our field work needs to bring an element of listening and make visible strength, knowledge.
Y denunciar la problemática, buscar identificar qué acciones de resistencia
and identify with actions of resilience have been implemented and establish proposals. Those are kind of the moments that are going to weave our research, and to see that there's a perspective, a research perspective that has, or multiple perspectives, where we can make visible all the strength and all the proposals of the indigenous communities and women, where we can where we can establish the feeling, thinking, the cosmo feeling, and the view, the voice of women, children, and grandmothers, and the peoples. And we say that it's done from a place of recognizing subjectivity. So it's carried out in a territory, in a context, in a people's, at their own rhythm and time, where we see that it's not about going beyond, we go beyond data, quantitative data. Yes, it's important, but subjectivity, the depth, must also be made visible in that collective knowledge that is built, and it's supported in that dialogue, not in that it's imposed in a way of thinking or feeling. It's that exchange, that dialogue, that way of thinking, of cosmo feelings and feeling thinkings that are weaved in the process. The challenge is that when we carry out our research, we can do that consensus. What characteristics does intercultural research have? It's a collective asset. It recognizes the sciences of peoples. It generates critical capabilities and proposal capabilities. It recognizes knowledge that it's learned and generated from different spaces, not just in schools, not just in universities, not just in centers of research. No, it is born from science and cosmo feeling and feeling thinking. It starts at home. It starts at the people. It starts at the fields, in the weaving, in the political practices of each territory. That's where cosmovision is born. There's already science of peoples there. There's already rights defense mechanisms. And there's alternatives of the production of knowledge that are different from academic research. different than what is generated in research centers. And that's a challenge that we have. How are we going to generate research or documents from our case studies that are different, that are decolonized, where we're making visible that strength, that resilience, those capabilities that exist in the peoples and in the women, where we denounce the problematic, but we also establish concrete actions that don't come from my intellect, personal intellect. They come from that dialogue, from that proposal that are being born from the process of research, because our research will have those 4 times, and it's based on the dialogue and the feeling, thinking, and cosmo knowledge that are complementary. Why? Because they know knowledge is more than another, and no, not one culture is superior to the other. Cultures and sciences can provide knowledge, and from that knowledge and that science and that cosmo knowledge can come new knowledge to be built. That's another challenge. It's not a sum of data and information or narratives. It's how from our studies we're going to define or establish and proposals and theories from our peoples. For example, I remember from what the sisters were establishing, I can't remember what the name that Samai was saying in her research, of how we understand violence, how it's taken up as a part of wisdom and science of the people, and that the healer grandmothers have tended to the sick, for example. That's not recognized, but it's a science. And how that provides information on science of repairing energy, transformative energy, but from the peoples. Then here we have some established information on taking care of the environment, taking care of women, not just repeating what we have, but also what the grandmothers say, what they have weaved, what they have resisted, that have been established in their own theories. And that's a way to decolonize, to eliminate the patriarchy, to heal. And we establish new knowledge. And the principles, which is where we want to make an emphasis, which is the profound listening from the ears of the soul, from a deep point of view, meaning we're going to get there with, as the grandparents would say, with our bare feet, with our soul exposed to receive, to listen, to let them speak, to let them express themselves, to the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the girls, the boys, the women, to let the river tell us what's happening in that territory, that the trees and the rocks that are not there anymore tell us what happened, what was it like. With that ear of the soul, not with a biased outlook that I bring with that colonized upbringing that we received. We need to strip from that. We need to strip that colonialism, that patriarchal point of view. We have to strip that and reach like water, like earth, like the air, like the earth, like the fire, with our ears of the soul, willing to listen and allow for those voices that have been silenced and repressed to emerge, and that we can generate these new knowledge, these new ideas and proposals for the defense of their rights, collective rights, and specific of women and peoples. Another principle is the respect of people. We can't arrive breaking through from one day to the next to a place. We have to make a process of ask permission, say, hey, we're coming. We have to be respectful of the dynamics of the schedules of cosmovisions, of the way that people work and that community works, that group, that territory, and the women that we're going to work with. And especially the confidentiality. In some places, according to what we talk about, sometimes they say, don't say my name or don't say where I'm from. Why? Because, for example, when we are denouncing the environmental situation and the invasion that's happening in our territories, and where people denouncing women are at risk, not all the love and not all the truth, meaning we're going to be respectful if somebody says, this is for you. I have been told that. Please don't write this. And if you write it, give it another perspective, but don't say exactly what I said.
Respect the dignity of women required. It's fundamental. We can't put them at risk. And the whole research goes to respecting the women's dignity, the dignity of the town. I can't. I once did a distance with the research, and I was located in places that they're not worthy, spaces that were not worthy, where everything was done however it could be done. We need to generate spaces and processes for research where we are finding to be respectful of dignity. Permission to ask and advise. We need to ask for permission. We need to consult. We need to ask for advice. When I have come to certain places to do research, I ask. For an example, briefly, I'm going to share an example for you. When I was doing a research, the first thing they told me, the wife, I'm going to ask for permission. And in my head, I was just like very blank space. I was like, who? Who do we ask? To the mayor? No. To Minoya. To the women. Nonoya. We're going to ask permission to the place, to the communities, to this territory. And we're going to do a ceremony, sacred ceremony, to the highest hill. That's going to be our first permission. To say that we have the permission to do this research, respecting, listening, that we don't have accidents, that nothing happens to us, that people that we lead to the homes receive us, they listen to us. So we did a ceremony, very respectful, with all the midwives, because they were the ones doing the research. I was just a secretary for them. From the different languages, and we asked for that permission. And they said, it is not one time, it's 4 times. At the beginning, during the first progress, intermediate, and at the end. And then we're going to ask you, and we're going to present our book, because for them, this is our book. Our book. We're going to add research book, and we're going to present it to the hill and to the ones who are not here, who left us behind. They're the ones who left us this knowledge. And we're going to deliver this to the communities. That was the process. Long process. It took time. And it takes time and resources. But it's those research process that allow us to grow. A lot of knowledge there. So the permission is not only to a letter and hand it over to the community's leaders, but energy permission. To have those spaces that are leading us the path, and we can do our job. Another element is consulting. We need to consult before. We need to validate what we want to do, what we need to research. Right, this is interest for me because it's part of the research diploma. No, wait a minute. It's not just that. That it should be of interest. It should be a topic of interest for this town, of that territory, of that community, of those women or that woman in general. I mean, depending on who you're gonna be talking to. But it becomes a tool for the life of these people, so they can be visible, so they can keep fighting, their resilience, their strength, and that's why we need to consult. Another element is advice, meaning research should ask for me or is going to serve me not to get the information from them, but to ask advice from them on the topic that I'm doing the research on violence, on recycling, agroecology, health, the knowledge of the town, depending on your topic, sexual health, collective rights, defending territories. I'm going to ask advice based on this. How have they lived it? How can they guide us? So I'm not there just doing interviews and getting information, but my attitude is different. I don't know anything. That's my attitude. I don't know anything. Or at least we have an idea, but we're going to go to the source of that knowledge, of those cosmo knowledge, of those sciences, and we're going to gather that information. So part of that broadening of that knowledge of that research is to ask for permission for the interviews, to take photographs. If we're going to do recordings, I can't go and take a picture and then I'll have pictures that I had a case, a personal case. We with my partner, we were doing on a sacred hill and we did a ceremony. We did ask for permission for the youth who were going to start a process. And then we went to a fair on the University of Books, and we found a document where we had our pictures from my husband from that ceremony, where they were citing us. I was the people from another town, I'm a kitchen, and they were putting me at kitchen, and they were citing us as us being doing the ones who were supporting to their research and nothing to do with that. We made that denounce. We said we found that out because it was not fair. And there's a university doing this, a prestigious university doing this. A lot of knowledgeable people, researchers, scientists, anthropologists. How was it that they took advantage? How were they able, without taking us into account, took our pictures where we had to ask for permission if we're going to do a recording, if we're going to do an interview, if we're going to have this energy? How do I do this? So before I begin, I say I'm here in your way. Let's talk with the energies of this place. Let's gonna ask, because the one thing is that our grandmother was saying, the tenant telling me that at least 2-3 generations behind her of other sources. So let's talk 240 years of knowledge. That's what they're transmitting to us. A girl is not telling me what she knows. She's telling me her knowledge and the knowledge of those behind her, a whole town behind her. We can ask permission for that. And we do an exercise based on that, an energy exercise. We ask for permission. We have a nice environment under a tree or on tables, if it's in a kitchen, wherever the place. It's a group work. We do an invocation and then the recording. We always need to record. We can't, I hate on recording. We need to ask for permission. We need to ask for consent. Because just to be careful, just in case somebody published something without, we're not there to collect data. We have knowledges, cosmo knowledge, events, evidence, living experiences that lead us to of an issue that is being lived. But not only the issue, it tells us about the whole resilience, the whole resistance, all the capacities that are in the communities to face that challenge. Because in spite of all of this, of all the oppressions in the history that we have lived in Africa, Asia, Latin America, women are still standing. We're still living. How have we done it? How have we resisted? How have we resisted all these projects, all publications, invasions of that Christianism, to the whole science that are coming to invade us, to all the systems that are agriculture, agrochemicals, on nutrition, transgenic nutrition. How have we resisted? How do we keep in teeth? How do we continue our roots, our languages, strengths? And how do we continue using our eyes to soul? And then this also does commitment. And then there's a question there that we do at the beginning. What do we next? I come here, I'll deliver my research, I'm going to that final meeting that it's present, and that's that. I'm done. And to do this with a PhD or another type of study, what do I do next? What they want to do is get their title, their degree, a master's, a doctorate, a PhD. What about the talent that gave me their knowledge? How about the grandmother who gave me that knowledge? So we need to ask ourselves, what do we do? So how do we do an excellence plan? How do we give it life with collective action, or just with the moment being? So that's why this is a commitment that we're taking. It's a very strong commitment that we're doing, not only to give this information out and get the information, but to be able to know the communities are in agreement. Everything that we do, it's we're consensus with the community and with them. And the results need to get back to the women, to the community, and being replicated with exercises, with processes of formation, just like we discussed, what we learned, what we gathered, all that knowledge that we had, and all that issue that was talked about, and we denounce it. How are we to use the media to denounce all the issues that we have lived, of violence, all the issues on depredation, on contamination and pollution, and the examples based on the studies that we're doing? How do we get back to the communities all that strength, systematized from our knowledge? And this is you. This is what you did. And how our research can become part and become documents that are used for the women, for the boys and girls that go back to the territory. Let's do exercises that allow us to reflect, and that will allow us to get strength, and that will allow us to become, allow us to have training processes to give back to that same territory and communities. For example, we're going to keep strengthening, but we're also going to be able to, once we speak of violence against women and those mechanisms that the towns have used to face violence, how do we get there? How do we get to the judges? How do we get to those operating justice to tell them we have our own ways? We have our right to have a dignitive and signifying and transformative process. But our research is not just that. It won't be left in a bookshelf or in FIMI or in any platforms. How do we give it hands, life, a heart, life? How do we keep it going? In a year, it can be walking. It's going to have life. How do we become programs, radio programs? So we have a big path to take, and that's going to depend on the commitment and the creativity and the involvement that you take in this process, because this process is not just for the research and for the researcher. We're the strength, we're the motivators. But how do we take that process and give it life? And it's not just kept in on a document. For example, here it is. This is a memory that I have from the FIMI research that we took, and I put this away. I don't have any book to right hand, but I'll put this away. No. It's not to put away. It's to work with it. It's to give it life. It comes to conclusion that allows us to have next step after the results are done. It's not an output that we have here. What's the conclusion that we get? And then it allows us to have, let's use the strength, that issue, and the resilience and let's take that issue at hand. And conclusions that are giving knowledge, that are out there, and that are understandable, and allows the information for if it's not just studies that we say, how do we get them into policies, public policies, community public policies, in norms in the communities, in action plans for the community, in the territory, especially how do we provide to governmental policies? The studies can, yes, it can, because you will generate new knowledge. It's not something of a copy paste of somebody else. Somebody have external people get and ask for information and interpret that what the research today is from our own source, from our own thinking. So we'll have strength to become something that will strengthen a public policy from the community, from the town, and policies that public policies and governmental public policies as well to mobilize that town, that community for the research. That's also the point of being. It needs to create movement and change. And the information that we get has to go to to create awareness and transform. Where we can see us as towns or subject or units of analysis, not anymore. We have a voice, we have words, we have strength, we have capacity to resist, we have sciences. And we're not default this, we're not promote this amidst the silence, not playing the victims anymore. We are subjects that have collective strength linked to the land, linked to water, linked to the winds, linked to the fire. And that's that strength that will allow us to have impact. It's not like it was said, Carolina said, it's not the quantity of pages. It's the strength of those pages, of that information, of the heart, of that energy that the document has, of what is written, just to transform. That's the strength of our research. What values does it have? What values do we have? What are they simulating or not? Our research. One of them is being thankful. Our research should be able to take thanks. The territory, the community, the town that allows us. I'll take thanks to the people who are going to provide us all that wisdom that is saved, all the cosmo knowledge that have been saved. Thanks between themselves. Thank the grandmothers who have sustained the life of the towns, who have resisted the invasion, continuous invasion, the violence, racism, and who are still standing. Give thanks to all the women who are willing to change, to resist, all the men, all the children. Give thanks to the energy of the place and give thanks to yourself. And that's a value that is very fundamental, that is key, humility. I don't see here, I know everything. I go to a place and here's like, I'm not the one who knows it all. I know nothing. Because I'm here dressed with that research on a white canvas. I do have lights, but I also have black. I'm here. Water, wind, fire, land. I'm here. This is who I am. With an open mind, listening to you. You who are the wise, who have lights and shadows. And I'm here to listen to what a child has to say through a song. What can a child tell me? Nothing. Of course they can, because they have a type of knowledge. That boy, that youth, that adolescent, the grandparents, within that humility of acknowledging that they have knowledge. They have, although they don't have the PhDs or the masters or the courses that we have, but they have their own doctorates and masters based on the knowledge of the ancestors, millennials, who have resisted through times all the oppressions, all the thinkings, homogenic thinking, all that invasive science, who have shaped us as a system of life. So the trust, that's also something that we need to look at. And we need to try generating that trust. So I'll be dressed whatever I want. No, that's not the way. I had to work with two anthropologists, one anthropologist and an anthropologist, a male and a female, a Quiche and Quechín, with white thinking. Because we have to go to communities. All right. They were wearing whatever. Sorry for the term. But I mean, they were like not prepared, not dressed, not really dressed. Because we're going to the communities. No, I dress myself with the best for going to the community. Because to me, that's a party. I need to celebrate, to be there, to go to a child's place. And that's only the clothing. I'm there with joy, with hope. I'm there with the willingness because they're going to open the path to me. Because the day before that, I put experiences. I spoke with the land. I greeted my grandparents and I asked for permission. So they were there with me before I got there to that territory. So I generate trust in that sense. But be careful how we get there. Oh, time is already. No, 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 no. Take your time. Worthy. To give the place for these people that they're willing to trade, that they're willing to share with us. Do I come to their level? No, it's not about that. We're not going down on them. Why are we always thinking we talk about that going down? But that's how hygienic thinking says. That's what they're thinking is saying us. We're not that way. That's not how we're going. We're not going down on people. We're not looking down at people. We're horizontal. We're one. There's a person there. There's a people willing to serve us. I'm going to find other people there. Oh, this is a boy. No, no, no. I'm not looking down on them because he's less than me. He has another dynamic. Oh, it's a grandmother. No, I'm going to come down to her. No, 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 no. We're not looking down at people because we're not superior to anyone or feel superior. We're going to choose people horizontally and in a circle, just as a snail, slow and a comeback with commitment. With that commitment, that's the basic. I can't come out and get the information. I'm not there to steal the knowledge. For the scholarship, for this, for my project, no. No, no, no. My commitment is to serve, is to awaken, awaken myself, to awaken people, to get that knowledge that seems to be because of Christianism, because of colonization, because of depression. But there, my commitment is to serve, to need that knowledge for people. And I'm there with that commitment that on what I'm gonna do is to generate icebreakers and give that back information. And give that information and give them back. And to build collectively with them, where my name is at the center. It's part of it's the construction of something. I'm committed that once the research is done, we're going to have concrete actions there to be taken that do not come from me. I'm not going to impose on them. It means that just like I received, here I give back. Just like I am thankful, I'm going to be thanked. And that's how I serve. That feeling of making people having that reciprocity. If the grandmother gave us her wisdom, what about the boy? Is he thankful? Do I kiss his hand? Do I provide something? If the child spoke, what will the adult say? Is he going to laugh? Is he going to be thankful? Is he going to encourage them? If they tell us of many territories, they're used to being, we do not allow people to speak. I'm sorry, we're going to allow people to speak I'm going to be thankful for them, for that knowledge, for that. That's the reciprocity that we're looking for. The responsibility of sharing with that knowledge. It's not a research, my research, or them. It's our. It's a process where we're both we share responsibility as researchers and those who provide the knowledge, and that's the whole feeling. It's not Nelin. I forgot the name right now. You're all in my heart, but not in my mind right now. Sorry, but it's not yours. It's a collective research that we're doing, where we're sharing, where we have collective rights as well, based on that, and that's something that we need to take into account. We are both responsible because it's our research. If the community wants to share, that is theirs, they're going to be willing to share with us. They're going to be willing to because they're going to feel the responsibility and willingness to search. We got to break that barrier and create that responsibility with them, and sensibility and listening. I'm going to be there to be there, to understand, to feel what they're not saying with words, because many times, a lot of the wisdom is not going to come out. It's not going to come out through words. It's going to come from what you watch, what you're observing, from what you're feeling, from what you identify. So that's why I'm telling you, prepare yourself, prepare your energy spiritually, with joy. Ask for permission, because you're going to come in to a sacred place that is the science and is the wisdom. And when I put those in paper, and when I put those in their languages, and when I put them in a hegemonic language as well, it is not useful because that's the one that we're using. That's the language that we're using. Not that cultural death, but cultural life and listening. In my case, for example, I speak a lot, but I need to listen. I need to be willing to listen, to serve. And you're going to learn so much. And you're going to feel so much. But to that, we're going to get there with our feet naked, just like water, just like fire, like wind, like water. Another key value there is, from the beginning, consent, private consent, because we're not going to ask Mr. Grandparent out there, give me. I'll tell you later, but just gotta let me know. I'll be there. I'll get there. But where are you coming? No, that's not the idea. We are coming open. We're here for a process. We have to ask for consent, energy-wise, in the places where we are, sitting down, with earth, with wire, with water. Ask for that consent, direct consent, to the community, to the town, wherever we're going. Where we inform them, where they don't feel analysis, where you're not of that knowledge, because they're a part, they own it, they're part of this process. So we need to make them prior, so that they have the liberty. They need to be informed and feel informed, and with the ability to accept and on the conditions that we're presenting. I would like to listen to some comments based on this. Please. What are your thoughts? I hope you're not you're tired because I never stopped speaking, but I would love to listen to some comments or questions that you might have. If not, they'll then do a little stretching movement. I see Angela over there stretching. So let's not get probably we're gonna get tired. So let's stretch some. Let's do this exercise that is a salute to the sun. Raise your hands, please, and we make a circle. We greet the sun. And salute our grandparents' sun. That's their energy. These are stars now. So that this comes to us. We do this exercise. Now we see the heart of the weather. Now to the land, to the skies. And greet the heart of the land down there. Now I feel our knees. The left knee, right knee up, left knee up. Let's take turns. Left, right, 2, 3, 4 times. Good job. And any load that we have, because at the beginning of the, now we have a little hot, there's a little heat. So this exercise, we don't have any loads on you because you won't be able to live. So let's 1, 2, release. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Keep releasing, keep releasing. Let's turn our heads. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. 1 time, 2 times. Good job. All right. Let's continue. That's a little tiring. Just to have an idea of the approach that we're taking, of the principles, the values that we have. If this is an approach I don't like, I have another one. There's a research purpose, and the protocol that we have is reflected there. What are we doing? What is it? What is the approach that we're taking? What's the scope that I'm taking for this research? So this is why we do the reflection first, because I know that you already have it. So let's continue. Can you see the presentation? Can you see the presentation?
Recuperar, despertar los saberes de los pueblos y fomentar el reencuentro con otros pueblos. ¿Qué quiere decir?
What does this mean? Our research is here to allow us to have visualize our knowledge, but give feedback and other practices as long as we have from the culture of life to create horizontal relationships. Our science. So with our research, we're going to get feedback. We're not going to invent anything. So we're going to write what we have. And we're going to give feedback on it with our knowledge, with our research, because they're collective, because it's not mine knowledge. It's a collective knowledge. And we're going to strengthen that knowledge and give it life and protect that knowledge, that science of the town, and the systems that they own. It's not true that when there, those systems have that the political, economic, cultural are for just one culture. There are a lot of systems, there is economy, our own autonomy there. They have their own knowledges and cultures and art, sciences, ways of feeding, ways of nutrition that are own of each town. So we're trying to decolonize and destroy that information. Because if a town believes that poverty, that misery is part of their culture, with our knowledge, with our research, we're saying, no, wait a minute. They were impoverished, but they were not poor. But not from that perspective of capitalism, where we see us that we're not poor, not civilized, wild. No, we're not wild. We're going to stay here, based on the research. We're going to go above that, all that research, all that history, where we say, because of that patriarchal system that we have that is internalized in the town, we're going to find what are the roots that we have, based on the knowledge, based on that story, where they say, it's not health and the science of health, of the doctors, of the physical system. And then the other one is the superstition, practices, health practices. No, wait a minute. There is a system of health system in this town, in this territory, that has sustained the life, not only physical life, emotional life, spiritually, energy-wise, mental-wise, of those generations. And not only generations of people, but also of life of the water. Because for our towns, water, health is not only of people, the health is for the water. The health is for the forest of the land. And from there, we start decolonizing. Because we're not only based on that box, hegemonic. We're thinking outside that box. With those who are doing on health, you're going to contribute on violence. In not translate just what is violence, on that white thinking. We're going to do that research. So this is what we're saying. We're not less, we are contributing. We are building this. Why? Because if I go that they're wild, that they don't know anything, because it's indigenous, we're a third world people. And that's how we awaken that wisdom, that science, that knowledge, in food security. And that's how we say how this oppression have come in Ayala for more than 500 years. And we're still standing in Africa, in Asia. We're all alive. How we're still communicating. That's science. It's not just there's a collectiveness there. And with that strength that we go for the research,
problemas con raíces estructurales, porque no vamos a mencionar un problemita, que porque la gente tira basura, porque no tiene cultura de manejo, porque
because people have no culture, because they're poor. Those are colonizer comments. We're going to say, when does all this invasion of trash invade, that destroy Mother Earth happen? What does that have to do with politics, economic politics, with a capitalist system? What's the root? How did violence against women reach that territory? How was the system, the health system, weakened in that territory? oh, that people were ignorant. No. What was the historical root? You have to research that. How did it start? Moving forth against victimization and looking for structure. So when we talk about the problematic that we're going to denounce in our studies, we have to carry out structural analysis of the roots of the source, where we can see what other actors have allowed that problematic situation to propagate. How have people maintained and resisted? What strategies have they used to face that problematic? What historical fights have happened from their wisdom, from their strength? And that needs to be visibilized made visible in the study. What actions do they carry out today collectively in regards to that topic? And afterwards, before that, in the face of that problematic, what collective proposals, what action plans are being taken where the community is committing to, because not because they're obligated to it, because they feel that they have to. That's why we say they will reconstitute, because sometimes with that dominant, hegemonic and racist statements, they made us feel weak without strength. And our research, our field research, that dialogue process where research helps to visibilize strength, to heal, we're going to reconstitute those political processes, the social and political, cultural, and financial processes of those communities, of those families, where they realize their own strength to move forward to their own towards their own autonomy. So my research is not going to be just another one. It needs to leave behind a trace, like a water glass that I had there and I didn't know was there, but when I take it out or when I lift it up, it leaves a trace. And it's the double outlook. And continue weaving their stories. And our research continues weaving, for example, life in our Guatemalan peoples. There's philosophy, there's math, there's science, there's relationship with the cosmos and the earth. When a weaver realizes that she's a mathematician, that she's a statistist, that there's a relationship with the cosmos, her strength awakens. When I explain to a woman that when she knows, and I ask, excuse me, how do you put the corn? How do you plant the corn? I'm going to use a local example. Oh, I put towel. I calculate how much I have to put of how much corn I need, or how much water I need for corn.
O palanganas de agua.
How much water, how much fire, what size. Oh, anybody does that. That's chemistry, because I mix chemicals with water, with grains, with fire, that's science. Who doesn't know that? Oh, you ask a scientist or a biological chemist, they don't know. They don't know the formula, but our grandmothers do. So when I say you have that strength and they realize they do, and we value it collectively during the research process, the community reconstitutes itself. The community feels strong. And they say, yes, we are cultures with millennial roots. Regardless of anything, we stand tall, without the victim perspective, but with a perspective of life, of strength, of resistance, of fight. That's a very important element, which is why we say that's an objective of the research, to rebuild, to leave strength for autonomy, for free determination, for fighting for collective rights, for fighting for women's rights, for pushing their economies. That's the strength that our research needs to leave behind. If not, it's just another research. And what's the point? To serve women and their peoples to recognize, understand, and transform their reality. Research is at the service of this community, where we recognize, understand, and transform their reality, not because the researcher says it, but because it's being awoken in the research process, where we awake and we retrieve the wisdom and the cosmos science and feeling thinking of the peoples as a proposal of good living, of a fulfilling life, where we say we are peoples that where we can live without the need of so many elements, and the ones that are necessary, they can come. Yes, of course we want electricity, but we don't want an energy that destroys the rivers and that takes over the trees and that kills forests. So they started they started installing panels. It's from another culture. No, it doesn't matter. If it's for life, let it come in. It helps me move forward, and the peoples and the communities can know what strength they have. We're used to seeing what we're missing. The research established problems that victimize women and peoples. Our research need to denounce problems, but they have to present proposals, actions, and that are already happening in the peoples. And sometimes they're not happening because of we don't realize because they're happening because of the pressure of the system. Those alternatives are already in play. And instead of wearing a blouse of the United States, that comes from the United States, for example, from the used clothes store, we use the clothes of my people. Instead of using plastic plates, I use ceramic plates that they make in my town, and that reactivates economy. And instead of buying packaged foods, I encourage the recovery of seeds and the production of food in my people. And I retrieve the forests, or I recover the forest from the natural regeneration of the plants. And I start that process, that recycling process. How do they do things before? I asked my grandmother, why were there no trash? Well, first of all, because we didn't use plastic. And everything went back to the earth. The leaves, the rinds, everything, and it became the food of animals and the food of the plant. The waste of the chicken, that was for the animals, or that was for the earth. The trees, the leaves of the corn was made to wrap tamales, for example. And tamale is a dough that's made of corn, and it's boiled, and it is wrapped in the green leaf of the corn. And then the leaf of the corn is also used, of the leaf, the actual leaf of the plant is used for other uses. So nothing is wasted, really. A part is always left behind for the animals, another part is left for someone who doesn't have a land, and another part we take and we save the seeds. All of that, how do we awaken that? We have to write about it. And finally, we have to participate, serve, and build collectively. That's the point of the research, that they build for the network of life, that it provides strength, that it doesn't leave us sad. There's problems, yes. There's structural strength that provide those problems, yes. Those are the big monsters of capitalism and neoliberalism that is hurting our territories, and that it has reached our table. But there's strength and there's resistance, and there's collective strength. And with that energy, we have to move forward. And as researchers, identify and question how things are working today in our peoples and in us as researchers, and how that colonialist matrix is working and how those oppressions are internalized. That's another point of, or another purpose of the intercultural research, is how do we internalize that matrix of abuse and colonialism that suppresses us and that impoverishes us. It makes us poorer, and how it hurts our territory, and make sure we visualize it in our studies, and put a name to it, establish the causes, and make sure that we make a collective decision with the community and the people and the territory where we're going to carry out the research, where we decide to transform that reality, where we don't have a research that is all made up of being to conform and to be as a victim. We have to decide what actions we're going to carry out to transform that unfair and unequal dynamic of violence and of impoverishment. That's the point of the research, and we have to take that into consideration, so that when you are, or now that you are, or that we all are in that in the process of revising our research papers, we have to say, are we doing that, or are we just focusing on one problem? Are we just copying other theories? What is the purpose of our research? The objective of our research? Okay, so the first objective that we propose is to position women, generations, and communities of originary peoples and cosmos as political subjects. This is just a proposal. Not as communities of analysis, not as subjects of research, not as objects, but instead as a primary source. Primary source, authorities. Primary source, this. Secondary source, documents. That's what we're taught. A colonial and white focus. We have other sources that are just as valid, which are our cosmos knowledge that we will go and learn about and make visible. So our first purpose in our research is to position and make visible women and generations and communities. Nor us, nor the cosmos, nor the people are subjects, are objects. We are not a resource. We're not resources of the research or the resources of the system. No, we are strength and the generation of that knowledge in favor of life. Because everything that we generate is for life, for that network of life, for this humanity, for this cosmos, for this Mother Earth and natural assets. We're a network. We're not the center, but we're a network. And to provide to the collective knowledge as a political exercise of women and people. Meaning, yes, we will generate collective knowledge. No, we're not going to copy and paste. We are going to produce. That's the challenge. Yes, of course, we're going to sustain and other knowledge that is going to nurture us, nourish us, but at least to establish what is living without violence, what is health from that territory, what is environmental justice, what's economy. It depends on the study of the subject that we leave a production of collective cosmos knowledge, new for others, but for the peoples, historical knowledge that are relevant, that are not written, but that will be left, that will remain written in our studies. And to leave those the ways of living that are generational, because they're not new, they're not made up. They have millennial roots and also current roots, because there are others that knowledge, that science has evolved. They have been trying to survive before that colonization and before those oppressions. How we have remained in time and to legitimize it through as a science, as knowledge, collective knowledge. It's also, we also have to provide and strengthen the capabilities of gathering those cosmovisions. We are consumers. And that theory of progress and the development that was made up in the white system, where they see us as consumers, because that's what we're good for, to consume everything they propose, as we in the measure that we don't produce science or cosmo knowledge or economy. We depend on them. That's why research is emancipating, because it allows for a recovery and a generation of knowledge, that we strengthen these capabilities of production that peoples have, where we have a great responsibility as researchers to lead those that cosmo knowledge, to write those cosmo knowledges, to present them and as basis to reinforce our collective identities and to transform our reality. And for us to bring forth the comprehension and the historical context, because we can't do a research as if we were an island. None of the peoples are isolated. We live in a context that is historical, colonial, racist, and oppressive, in a context of continuous invasion, and not capitalism that takes away life, that breaks the network of life. So we do have, with our research, to express how is that context happening in that reality, historical reality is happening in that territory, and what strength is in that story. On one side, that history of oppression and colonization, and how it has affected the way of life. That we have to make visible in our research. That's one of the points. And to promote public policies that are fundamented in knowledge, in the collective knowledge, and in the proposals that come out of the research. Local political policies of territory for women, depending on the subject that we are referring to. And what does intercultural research attempt? To understand people, because up to now they have written, they have spoken, and they have thought. And there's a voice of what people don't know. That's why we are establishing that intercultural process with a political situation, because we do have a voice, we do have a science, we do have cosmo knowledge, we do have life stories, and we can write, and we can understand the story and the reality from our perspective, because it's a right. It's not necessary to be studied and have science and cosmo knowledge extracted from us. Today, we are responsible guardians of these knowledge, and we need to weave with the community. Our grandmother said, I want you to study. Don't go to those schools of the whites, because at some point we were scared. In my time, or in the time of my mother and my grandmothers, they would hide the children so they wouldn't go to school, because they were sure that the school was going to weaken them. And we can't say that it wasn't true. It made them lose the languages. But the grandmother says, go, but come back. But don't forget what your roots are, where you come from. So we are going to generate knowledge using that science that we don't devalue, that science that provides life, but from our science and our proposals. We're going to write in a historical context and dialogue with other knowledges, with other sciences. We're saying, oh, we're closing everything else. No, that's why it's intercultural, because we're not closing ourselves off to anything. We don't want our cultures to think that we are the only ones. No, there's a dialogue of knowledge, but we will use the cosmovision and our spirituality and our knowledge and our collective knowledge. These collective feeling thinkings that are alive in our peoples, those cosmo feelings, those cosmo knowledge that exist today, that are kept safe by grandparents, that are kept safe by men, by women, by children, by weaving, by the forest, our sacred places. And we have systems of life. How I was telling my mother, she didn't work for anybody. It was their economy. How do we have food every year? Beans, seeds. It was their production system that made it possible. How do we have medicine to take care of us? And if we couldn't go to a doctor, well, we had medicinal plants. Those are life systems that are our own. Those are sciences. They're not customs or empirical knowledge. They're sciences. They're agricultural sciences. They're safety, food systems. That's what we're going to base our research on, and in our organizational systems. Where is that organizational weaving? For example, we're going to work the subject of violence against women and how it's tended to. How is the organizational system working in that town that accompanies? Where does a woman that is victim of violence go to? What is their support system? Oh, that she goes to the local authorities, but that's 3 hours away. She doesn't even have money, nor she knows where she's going. She goes with her grandmother. She goes with the healer. She goes with a friend, with her mother. She goes to her mother, her friend, and there's a network. And then with the authorities, and then with the grandfathers. And then what's their support network? How is that organizational system? What practices, life practices, do people have to sustain their wisdom according to the research system? And what are the historical proposals or the historical roots of this? Our research needs to provide or visualize, and put in paper what's happening. What are those historical proposals of women and our peoples according to the subject, and what are the current proposals that have resisted and have are still alive to good life, to good living? Another important aspect is that it proposes to knowledge and making visible and reliving accumulated knowledge of science and ways of life, of the knowledges for the transformation of oppression. Meaning our knowledge, our cosmo knowledge, and what we're going to make visible is all those cosmo knowledges that provide a support to the reconstitution, to the network of life, to the collective rights. And if we have to make that visible, some of those practices visible that are hurting the peoples, we do that too, because those we have to get rid of. Another element that is important, what is this intercultural research going to leave behind for us? First of all, a validation plan with the communities. That's the first root of it. Our research needs to be validated from the moment it starts. That's the first result, saying that it was validated here. There was a consent to do this research, to carry out this research, and then a research plan where we can visualize make visible how the community is going to participate, not as an object, not as a unit of analysis, not as a source only, a primary source. No, as the peoples, the collective peoples that are owners of the research. That's the first result. And another result is we're going to have a study, a research for the network of life where we see strength and proposals and actions and problems that we denounce and how we have resisted, and a plan of incidents. Yes, it's a result of our research that we have an incidents plan with a clear route where we're going to have incidents towards the inside, towards inside us, because we can't be a light in the street and darkness at home. We had to use this research to revitalize that community, that territory, those people where we do the research, and have an incidence outside to the external actors. It could be the Ministry of Environment, to justice administrators, depending on the subject that we are talking about. How are we going to have an incidence in our research? How are we going to establish actions of public policies or regional policies? Oh, that's impossible. No, let's think big. A grandfather used to say, think or dream large, and you're going to have really strong roots and great and big fruit. How are we going to replicate, to share, to make visible, to multiply that knowledge, as long as we have the authorization to do so? And not where the researcher comes and goes with this. No, the ideal situation, and if possible, is that if we do it from the principle of consultation and asking for consent, all of this is done with the community. The plan of validation, the plan of incidence is done with them, and the plan of collective action is done with the communities. Why? Because we weren't fooled. The teacher came, and Janeline came, for example, and said, we're going to do it together. And she came and never came back. She picked some documents, she did some research, and then she left me. We were excited. We saw that she was real, that she was committed. Sorry, Janeline, that I used your name. But she left. No, we are not like that. We are different. We will carry out processes that encourage participation where the community is involved, and we are the force that pushes and that accompanies. That's the commitment, and that's what we expect. And it's building collectively cosmo knowledge. Why? Because it explains a phenomena and it establishes a problem that impacts the rights of women and their life. Meaning it's not any subject, and you presented it already, and that's why you're in this process of the course, because you presented topics that have to do with a concrete reality, with a real problem that is impacting the rights of women, Indigenous women. And from there, we have to provide options that are decolonizing and freeing, not repeat models that are going to promote colonization, no, but activities that come from the community, that come from the strengths of the people to free them. A grandmother used to say, the solution is not outside, it's inside you. And when you when you do these processes, what you have to do is awaken that strength, that the community and the people say, oh, these are my own solutions, because it comes from them, and it's sustainable, and it has a life because it comes from them. And that's going to allow having a reality that's going to promote the knowledge and the knowledge on the ways of life, the collective ways of life that exist. That's the first step. We're not just going to see problems, we're going to see all that strength that exists. We are going to do a collective process that is a political exercise, theoretical and methodological, that looks to deconstruct that colonial matrix and that matrix of hegemonic knowledge, because we're going to break all those schemes that we have. They're poor, they're ignorant, they contaminate the earth. No, what are the sources? Why the violence? Because the people of the men of that town are violent. No, where is the patriarchy coming from? How is the strength? How is the relation between men and women? And how it destroyed. I was destroyed. How do we rebuild and we generate a new way of promoting or create a new way of promoting collective knowledge from the community, from the vision and from their own vision, people's own vision and ideas, not from my thought, not from downloading a bunch of documents that were created with a white way of feeling and being, but from the strength that happens. And from there, I will nourish myself from other written documents as long as they respond to my vision. That's an element that we have taken into consideration. And the other element is that analysis, that cause and analysis and holistic analysis from the intercultural research, which means coming from strength, of the strength of the life, of resilience, of the roads that have been made, of the strategies, the life strategies that are in the territories and people, and of course of a problematic structural issue that drowns that strength, but that doesn't mute it. That's where the indigenous peoples move, and with our strength and our context. And there we have lived, me 56 years, others less, our grandmothers 100, and are in the middle of our force, of our strength, and other contexts that generate problems. As another grandfather used to say, the only thing we ask to states is that they don't come in. Don't come in, don't steal. Let us flourish, let us live our strength. And if you bring life, we open the door. But if you bring death, just stay away. So our research needs to provide that holistic approach to see strength and problems, not just problems, strength and problems. That is contextualized from an analysis that is historical, analyzing structural causes and other underlying situations, meaning what generated the problems in that territory, of the depredation of violence, sexual violence, debilitating health systems. What are the structural roots of that? What are the structural roots of the problems, and what are the underlying causes that we see closest that have generated these problems, but that have promoted the strength? That's an analysis that our research has to offer. And another one is to identify other alternatives. Meaning this analysis need to appear, not just describe the health of grandmothers, of the health of the community should not be showcased only, but why was health debilitated? What grandmothers say happened, and we start with our analysis, our cause and analysis, our root and analysis, where we leave behind, we stop blaming others, saying, oh, men are violent, they generate violence. No, what happened? What generated that? And we don't see what the strength is. We have to identify it. Cause and effect of the strength, causes of the strength, consequences of the strength, and effects and causes of that problematic or of that problems. So that dialogue between light and shadow, and that analysis, how do we carry it out in our research? Because we're not going to let just reason flow. We're going to try to back up what we say, but speak recovering. And I'm sorry that I talk about myself, but when I write, and I don't write very well, I recognize that, I try to remember. That's why it's important. I don't respect research. I always send people who carry out surveys, because the person who's going to who's going to walk the territory, who's going to eat with the community, is the person who stays with the wisdom. And I've seen a lot of extractivisms who do that. They hire local personnel. Oh, I don't stain my feet. Somebody said, I hire people to do that. But those are the people that stay with that. And I thought, oh, that's the white thinking. That's the colonial matrix. I'm going to go. I am going to walk the territory. I will be here. Because I'm not going to just pretend I saw it. I was there. I lived it. And I'm going to write from that position of close relationship, of listening, of being with the cosmos and the natural assets of that territory, with the women, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the children that we talk to. Who is the kush, the heart, the strength of intercultural research? Not first, because there's a historical and the feeling thinking, cosmo thinking, cosmo knowledge, and living and collective demand. The spiritual and cosmo vision and science of those peoples, of those women, of that territory, and the ways of living. Those are the kush. It's not the anthropologist from X place that comes to study. And she's going to write about their interpretation of us. No, we're going to write it from our own perspective. Another element is the local wisdom of the peoples. So local and other people's sages, adult and young men, adult and young women, grandmothers and grandfathers, and the children and adolescent and youth of those peoples, the family and the community. They're the heart, but also Mother Nature and the cosmos. But also the market, the school, because all those spaces speak. All those spaces have something to say. The field, the house, that's where cosmo knowledge exists. That's why you have to hear from the soul. And it's transformational because it takes us to the collective information that looks to generate collective processes for decolonization. It gives strength to the value of people and their different expressions, and it promotes participation, making an emphasis in collective values such as council and the rights of the communities to decide over their own processes. And it became a process of intercultural research where participation is a moral value, but it's also essential, it's complex, it's active, where you reach or you broach proposals that are joint, that promote life, and it promotes spaces of knowledge, because in research becomes a knowledge process for others too. When the sisters have told us about the focal groups, walks, exchanges of experiences as a strategy, the meeting around the fire, a way of research, or bathing collectively in the water, collective preparing of foods, that's where you learn, where everybody participates. I know that you guys are in that dynamic of listening because I've spoken way too much, but that's the biggest challenge. And the research implies two processes. feeling thinking for the collective action. That process is a conscious process where the political collective peoples are women, generations, families, and the peoples. It implies collective work that participate, not only the researcher observes and listens. All of us are doing that research, the participant planification and collective participation, the actions that are participative, the evaluation is also a participation. All of us are involved. And that's the challenge that we have. So we come in as one more. And is it possible to carry out other ways of research that exist? Yes, it's possible. Why? Because intercultural research, first of all, it's participative and it looks for transformation. That's the premise that we need to have. It's transformative, it's emancipative, it's healing. And other methods and ways are also welcome. Oh, I don't do a research because, as I say, it's a hegemonic. The research is a tool that I can use if it helps me and how I do it. With what spirit do I do it? So I can combine other ways of research as long as they provide support to the network of life, to heal, to emancipate, and to generate dialogue. And of course, to awaken their own ways of life. In my people, I say that the Bishop. The Bishop is a methodology, their own way of research, a research methodology. Because when grandmothers and grandfathers, or mothers and fathers, or children provide advice, they provide a wisdom. We do it around the fire, we do it around the water, we do it in the woods, we do it when a person is weaving and we're all talking. That's the creativity and the context in which we live. So it is possible to do this. And I stop with that. It's 9 a.m. I know I spoke too much today, but time is short for this system. Sometimes we're against time, really. I don't know if you have another question, some questions before we move on to our 10-minute break. If you don't ask me questions, I'm going to ask you questions myself. Does anybody have a question? Yes, okay, go ahead, Nucleila.
Yeah, Lorena, correct me if I'm wrong. So the results of this research will be a no recommendation, right? It's only about solution from mostly from the community, from the indigenous people, and then yeah, I think correct. It will take a long time, right? Because I jump to another issues because you mentioned that it needs like a consent. Consent will take time, right? Because they don't, sometimes they don't want to be documented. They don't want to be documented. They don't want to share the pictures. It needs to take a long time to ask them, if you have the time, and they don't want to do that individually. They want to do that in the group, communal, in communal. So, what do you think, Rolena? It will be challenging, yeah, in terms of the times, as well as the strategy will be the strategy, because you also mentioned that the results should be powerful, yeah, should be sustained, should be used, should be replicated. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lorena. Thank you.
No, gracias, Nuquila. Yo creo que me alegra que se haya entendido esa parte.
Thank you,
Yo-
Nukila. I'm glad that you have understood that. I was so embarrassed to speak so much, but it was necessary to make an emphasis. That's what's going to make the difference of our research. If not, we are going to be just another researcher that because of the course where we go to, we make a research, we extract information, we come in as an external source. And in FIMI expects that we're different, for us to be different. It does require time, it's true. And I understand that you have your design, preliminary, this is what you sent, and that's why this issue was interesting. And now we have to recreate the strategy. We know that time is short for what we have. We have till July to have the study completed. And a study that's not one of the run of the mill, but that it has strength, that it has that collective construction power, but where the community doesn't feel that it had information extracted, but that they feel that they're a part of this. And for that, the starting point is important. How would I solve this? Taking into consideration it takes time. At least each one of you knows which territory, organization, or community will be the subject of your research. So you already have some previous knowledge, and I hope you have some contact. What we need to do is be close or come to them, aside from the leaders that are key in the process, and we have to come to them and inform them. Tell them that we are here to do a research for you. I'm here asking permission. And I'm sorry that I say it so colloquial, but we're not going to complicate this. We're here to ask permission. This research is for your work and what you're doing. And it's not my research. It's a research that needs to be collective. So you have to meet with whomever you decide. If it's a community, it needs to be with the guides. Somebody always takes on, and the grandmothers need to be informed. We have to do a consultation. We have to come and be here. I say it by experience. It's taken time. In our case, we already have the proposal. We criticize ourselves right now. And that's what I was saying from the beginning. From that extractivist focus, we want to go from there or not? How do we take it from the short time that we have? I invite you to generate your own route. Something that doesn't take months.
A week. What does it invite me to?
Take me to?
I'm in Duma right now.
I'm calm because I'm going to do it
because I'm doing this in my community.
For example.
And I know the elder, I know the guy that want to meet with me. And what I'm doing is get meet with them, whatever it is. Or Jesse. Jesse tell me, no, I'm here in the capital. The community is so many place, but I live here. The conditions are different for each one of you. So each one of you have to do a pathway on how this process can be. Because we're in the time that we ask for permission, because that's like the key step, where they feel informed. Where we tell them, in short words, colloquial words, leave this study for you guys. This is not my book. This is for you. Here's the name of the people, because we're gonna do it collectively. Where you're gonna give me your time so I can continue to get together with you, because I'm not from the community. And when you give me the permission, you grant me that permission to take pictures, because it's not possible that you continue to have the anonymity. You are the ones who led this. You are the one who know this. But give me the permission to take those pictures, and they're going to be in your book, in the book that I'll bring to you. And this won't be just information. We're going to see the titles. It's going to be where you can go give that to your grandkids, to your sons and daughters, all that wisdom. that we're gonna get together for you. And I'm just telling you things that I get from my grandparent who said this in the town of Kichi. No, I won't give you anything. And it was a granddaughter who came out and said, my grandfather is already about to die, and he says he's not gonna leave you anything. And since with the ladies and the elders, I was like, to get there, you're gonna bring them bread and chocolate. We're not gonna go pay them. We're gonna go give them thanks with bread, chocolate, and cinnamon. Chocolate because it's sweet, cinnamon because it's spices and we have it's sweet and spicy, and bread or tortilla because that's what they eat. And we took it, and to each place we went, we delivered this when we got there. I mean, we already told them in advance, right? And when I got there, it was like, and this service said, we said, okay, we respect that, but the daughter had already came in with the bread, and we already left. And he called us back again, and he said, my grandfather says to come back because it's not possible that he has received the bread, and there's the reciprocity that we're talking about. He wasn't going to eat the bread without giving us his knowledge. We said, we're here to ask for advice. Of course, the midwives who were there with me, they all knew. It's not my survey here. That's something else as well. We build a team. I know it implicates logistics, but when we get there to take the ownership of the community, for them to get involved, we leave them there set for them for the future. And there will become, and there many of them, many grandparents stay there. They're the ones who register. In my language, Ite, Abakshi, those who register, those who write. And they're the ones who continue writing. So that's where we have that part. So the grandfather received us. He was back. He was like renal deficiency. And I had this girl who's just called, who said he called the spirits. And when we came in and we said, we greeted, we did an invocation to ask for permission because to be in his house and to his grandparents. And he said, I'll give it to you. I'll be leaving. I know I'm leaving. And he told us stories that I don't have enough time to tell you the story. But he told us the story of the process of the violence that he lived in Guatemala. And he was a guy, the spiritual guy. And he was burned to his bone. He burned everything because of the fire. In the 80s, when the army came in, and he told the town, and the town told them, in the story that I was telling us, burn them, burn their, or you go to church, or we burn you. And he had to deliver everything, his beans, his spears, everything he had, everything that he, all the tools that he had, in order to save his sons and himself, to not get burned. He said, you bring the bad news. And what the fire was just that. And that was the repression, that was the fire. So he was telling us this story, and when he guided us and he told us many more things, what it meant for him, the whole process of repression in Guatemala, in his town. And we ended up there, we get out. And the person that was there with me, she was like, Lorena, we shouldn't come in. I shouldn't come in because I was not supposed to get in there. I'm the one who raises the spirits. And what I did when I got to that house is help him to leave. And I'm assure you, and he was suffering because he was like, my grandfather is suffering a lot because of the pain, but he's resting. And he told us, thank you, because you let me speak. Thank you, because I feel that I'm living free. I had that pain in myself. And like we said, we did exercises with him. When you have the wisdom of the towns, we can talk, we can do many things. Things go fluently. So we give him thanks and we don't leave. But 2 days later, the later was telling me he already died. And just so you know, he told us. What he said is just like he's saying. And he said that. He did ask for that. That when we delivered the book, to be there. His grandfathers were there. We went to the ceremony to receive it. And many died because of the people who did research with. 102, 105, 103 years old, 98 years old. 3 of them died, but they left their wisdom. And that's how and they did this narrative just because I need to find the ways. I'm encouraging you to find the ways to get that permission. And how can we shorten that in the process that we have? It's a challenge. But I do encourage you that it's possible, that it's to be done. And break that barriers and the ideals that we work as a team and the community with the organization. Like make them feel that it's there. How much are you gonna pay me? No. We're gonna tell them this is yours. This is you're already more than paid for. We're gonna be able to gather that information and present you. So it is important for you to see this. And when I talk about the fruits of this of this research, it's that plan, validated plan, at least where we can visualize that there is a consent, that we have a team there, a basic team, of who's going to be participating with us as a team, as a group, a support group of a dialogue, because it's a lot easier for me to go there and get there and look for people. No, community has its own strength, and that's why it's important where we're doing our research. And that's where I'm saying we don't have to go that broad in the coverage, and that's where you all need to know where is your area of where you're going to be working in. Yeah, I'd rather you have one territory, concrete, instead of going all over, so that you can generate better information based on the time that we have left. And then we're going to have the plan as a fruit, the research itself, the incidence plan that we can create, a replication plan. How can we replicate all this information that we gather? And the action plan that we have. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. The least is less. This is a wisdom that I have. Less is more. Be precise. It's not that we want to have all the research, but it's that not what I found. I mean, it's that spirit of that place, of that you're going to be working with. And that you, as researchers, Indigenous women from Asia, Africa, Latin America, can write from that feeling, from that thinking, and continue decolonizing. And I'm saying that's just a healing process. That's what I'm saying. It's just, if Nukita, you want to say something else? Thank you. If there's another comment as well.
Thank you, Lorena.
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Alguien más?
Anyone else? If not, then we'll take the 10-minute break. I'm sorry, I hope that didn't get you confused, but this was something that I need to share as well, that we get that commitment and find whether we're researching. It's not to invent things. It's just to awaken the strength that each one of you have. All the wisdoms that you have, your creativity, combining that, knitting it together, just like this, with multiple colors, with what you have in the community. Let's not get complicated. The simplicity should be more than enough. Okay, so let's do this process. Let's start making those paths. That's what we're looking for. So we're gonna take the 10 minutes, and when we come back, what we're doing, we're gonna do a small conversation with you, and that's the task that we had pending of the methodologies, and that's where it comes in. So I feel that I want it to be more spontaneous. I don't want to be calling out people. You place your hand, and you can tell me, this is my ideology, this is what I did, what steps I can take. Just more spontaneous. Give life to this, what we're doing in this space. So let's take this 10 minutes, and this is where we come back in.
De la metodología. de la ruta que
It's a
estamos
conversation
siguiendo para hacer nuestra
based on that
investigación.
homework that we had.
No sé si Dunen tiene algo que comentar.
No,
Okay,
no
ditto.
tengo.
Muy bien, gracias Dunen.
What we're doing right now to do this
Empezamos en
research.
10 minutos.
Duna, do you have something else to tell us? No? Alrighty.
Muy bien, buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches.
Welcome back. Good afternoon, good morning, good night. Let's begin briefly with this presentation. Just to start this process that belongs to the methodology. And now you do the following. And here we do the objective of this topic. And the objective is to recover a collective of the methodologies of research who are sustaining the cosmovision. We are to allow us to do how it has been done in the past of the historic life of the women and indigenous peoples of Ayala, Africa, and Asia, in conjunction with other knowledges that are from the who are part of the regular life. So we want to awaken, like dancing, like knitting, dialogues around fire, a walking path through a market, to a forest, to the river. How can we do that research there from what each territory has and what each one of you knows of your territory and your pound? That's the main objective of this topic. What does it take? It takes with the methodological approach to intercultural research, the characteristics of intercultural research analogy, the topic, the techniques and instruments for gathering knowledge, and the methodological process for intercultural research. And this is what we're going to look at this part. Of course, we have half an hour left to do this, but we're going to start this with the presentation and see how far we'll go with the presentation because of time. And we'll begin first with Africa. I'm sorry, we'll do a dialogue because we did this as a conversation. So everyone can open up their cameras and can share with us based on these questions that we had. That I'm going to share with you. I'm sorry. There was 3 questions that we had that you needed to work on. Let me see. We lost our speaker, so let's give it a few minutes for her to reconnect, please. Give her a couple of minutes for her to come back. Apparently, she lost her connectivity. She's back. Give us a second to let her back in. All right, sorry, I was kicked out, but I'm here. My apologies, but the questions here, the ones that we're going to be dialoguing with, are the ones that were uploaded to the Moodle, and yeah, you were supposed to have the guide there that we sent to you. The first one is, what is the methodological approach and the methodology that you're going to be implementing for your study case based on the wisdom of women, indigenous women, and their towns? What is that approach? And what methodology are we proposing? So you have the words. You can tell me. I would love for you to be more spontaneous in your participation. And this was a task that was given to you for a while, so you should be prepared for this. So please go ahead and talk to us. Anyone can begin. I would like to first begin, please. Thank you, Jesse. Well, regarding with the first question, what I've been thinking is in my project, in terms of how my project goes, it's a qualitative approach, intercultural as well, that supports itself from methods like interviews that are structured as a guide to begin the dialogue with the women as a tool, a rigid tool, but not a rigid tool, but more as a gateway, the steps to develop the dialogue. As long as there is the equitative and respectful with women. The observation is to be participating with as another tool that allows us to have the experience of this, of each one of the continuity of the life of the communities, and the same importance on the methodologies and the dynamics that we have, and with the organizations and the communities that they have to do with the rituals, with requests and customs that they have. What I understand is that we need to be commenting based on the questions, so I don't want to, I share my whole presentation, but yes, so far that's what I'm thinking. All right, if you have presentations, go ahead, let's continue doing with what we have, we have written, because that allows us to have a part of the rest. So we can begin with this first presentation. Who else wants to share with us? What is the approach and the methodology that you're going to follow for your research? We're 12. We have 11 more to go. Dom?
¿No le escuchamos? O no sé si le escuchan.
Dom, are you mute? Can you open up your mic, please? We can't listen to you. Dom, can you check your mic, please, if it's on?
No se escucha. Dom, ¿no le escuchamos?
Dom, we can't listen to you. Can you open up your mic, please? Dom, can you please check your mic, please, to see if it's on?
Dom, ¿está desactivado el micrófono?
Dom, your mic is not habilitated. Dom, we can't listen to you, Dom. Can you check your mic, please?
Quizás si se quitara los audífonos, Dom, ¿la escucharíamos?
Dom, can you check your earphones, please?
Nosotros no la escuchamos. No se escucha. Tal vez le vamos a pedir a Dom que
Dom,
pudiera
can you please check if your speakers are fine?
ver lo del el sonido, el audio, y
Can you check your audio, please?
esa parte, porque es
And while you fix that, we'll give it somebody else because it's very important that we listen to you.
mientras que se arregla la parte,
But meanwhile,
pudiera haber otra
we can have somebody else volunteer before she goes ahead again.
pero sí dejamos a Dom porque es muy importante su aporte en lo que ha
So Dom, can you please check your mic, check your speakers so they see if we can listen to you? Who else would like to share, please? What is your methodological approach and the methodology that you're going to be using?
Si no, pues yo voy a nombrar.
If not, I'm just going to name you.
¿Cuál es su aporte?
Name?
¿Cuál es su respuesta a esta pregunta?
What is the answer, Naina? What can you share for us?
¿Me escuchan?
Can you listen to me? Naina, can you share with us, please?
Muy bien. Entonces, si quisiera ver si Naina o a otra de las compañeras que quiera compartir para la respuesta.
Somebody wants to share with us, please, your answer to this question? Because even if not all everyone has done the exercise, I would like for you to check on it because it's very important. So Dom, can we listen? Can you check your mic, please? No, not yet. Can you check your volume? Perhaps? We still can't listen to you. Somebody else can give us an answer to this? What is your methodological approach and your methodology for your research, please?
Vamos a preguntarle a
Let's ask Nukila now. Nukila, can you give us an answer for this, please?
Yeah, since sorry, there is the okay. I will because I will concentrate on the issues of the indigenous women and the ownership of the land. So my methodology will be like a deep interview, deep dialogue with the woman. What is their challenge, their needs, their thoughts about their ancestors, and then I would like to also to deep into the history and the culture. Why recently it becomes like a many conflict related with the land, while the women do not have ownership, but the state also is another challenge. The businesses is another challenge. So women facing indigenous women facing double discriminations from the the issue of their ownership in the society, as well as the external challenge with the state and the businesses, the investors. So but my methodology I would like to highlight, but I would like to conduct like a qualitative approach with the dialogue, in-depth interview, one-on-one with them, with the approach with the indigenous leaders, as Lorena said, indigenous leaders. Yeah, I think I would like to. Because I didn't write in detail, Lorena, in my PPT, but I would like to put additional method that I would like to highlight in my research. So that will be like that, yeah. From the perspective of the culture, the issue of the patriarchal society, the issue of the external things, like state businesses, why they make women, indigenous women weaken and weaker, and then yeah, I like to highlight about that.
Muy bien. Sí la invitamos, Duquila, que pueda trabajar esas
We will
preguntas.
invite you, Nikila, for you to work on these questions because it will give you feedback to your protocols when you start working and go more in depth with information. But thank you for providing your answer. Tom, are you ready? Dom, can we listen to you?
poder presentar.
Tamay, bienvenida.
Sí, disculpas, salí un ratito a comprar. Estoy con dolor de estómago, entonces fui a comprar una
I'm having
hierbita.
I had to go get some herbs,
Volví. Y estaba así como
but I'm back
ansiosa
here.
de que quería
I'm very
presentar
anxious. I wanted to participate,
Entonces,
but I'm here.
me gustaría,
La primera pregunta ahorita.
So the first question is,
¿puedo
you know,
hacer la presentación
can I present my, I could show my presentation, please?
sobre el enfoque metodológico, verdad?
With the methodological approach, right?
Así es, sobre el enfoque metodológico.
Ya. A ver, la primera pregunta sobre cuál será
The
el
first
enfoque
question, wait, what is the approach that I'm going to be taking
para realizar su estudio de caso,
for the study?
basado en la sabiduría de
It's
las
going to be
mujeres
based on the
indígenas
wisdom of the
venezolanas.
women in towns.
Aquí yo agregué estas.
Here,
En el
I
documento
added this
sería
one.
más detallado, pero
In the document, I have more in detail.
quise poner
But
el
here we have
enfoque.
community involvement
Bueno, son estas y me gustaría igual que la
and co-design of the
metodología son
study,
estas, ¿no?
participation and audit, community involvement,
Estudio,
co-design of the study,
y autoría,
participation, authority,
participante, Rimanaco,
author being
que es como
participation,
metodología propia,
which is a
diálogo,
Vimanaki, which is a circular own methodology,
Dirandi, Yanandi, hay
in
algunas
Dinandi, and some other approaches that I know that are proper to Sumacauce, which is also known. And with those,
les había puesto aquí.
I have put there.
Como he venido diciendo en anteriores sesiones, sí estoy teniendo muchos problemas para
Yes, I have some issues with
cuándo es enfoque, cuándo es metodología, cuándo es
the methodology, what is method and what is methodology and what is the mix.
lo que a mí me encantaría sí es como tener un ejemplo para
So we'll have to have an example.
y orientarme, sería maravilloso. Muchas gracias. Creo que es la única pregunta, ¿verdad? ¿O continúo?
Is that the only question or should I continue?
Ahora sí creo que tenemos a Dom. Creo que está resuelto.
Dom, can we give it a shot again? Your issue is done, right? Correct? Welcome. Welcome, Dom. No, sorry, Dom, we can't listen to you.
No sé si la escuchan los traductores, yo no escucho. Muy bien. Pues Dom, lastimosamente no la podemos escuchar, pero
We're
tenemos...
sorry, Dom, we can't listen to you. But we do have your document. I mean, Angela can probably give us some feedback later. I don't know what might be the issue, but we are here ready to give you some feedback later, but let's do with somebody else then. Who else wants to share this first question? What is the approach as a methodology? Ninka, you want to participate? I think you have your audio there, but I can't listen to you.
¿Está apagado el audio, mi? Bienvenida. ¿Está mi?
Me, can you have your audio?
¿Puede abrir su audio?
Me?
Talking to me, yes.
There you go.
Sí.
Yes, you. Are you ready? Can you share?
Yes, okay. Can I just speak? Do I need to share the screen? I will do
Ni la
research on...
presentación está bien que comparta.
If you have your presentation, you can share it. That's fine. If not,
yes,
you can do it like that. That's okay.
I have it, but
You
I
can just
think
speak. Don't worry.
it is not perfect. So, okay. I will have a research on a case study of a young divorced mother with her young children who left by her husband in my community. In this case, I will use qualitative research methodologies, and I will use semi-structured interview and focus groups for their in-depth interview. Thank you.
Seguimos con mi. ¿Sí?
Yes. Any question?
Muy bien. Seguimos con
yo
mi.
tengo una pregunta. Ahí, ¿cuál sería el
I
enfoque?
have a question. What will be the approach there? What will be your
Qualitative
approach here? Your approach?
approach. I will use qualitative methodology. And I will use semi-structure interview and focus group discussions.
Y un enfoque desde las sabidurías ancestrales, ¿cuál sería?
And from the wisdom, ancestral wisdom, how can that work with ancestral wisdom? That question is for you, right, Lorena? That question is for Lorena. It's not for you, man. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Sobre su trabajo. Ujú.
From ancestral wisdom, what could be the approach?
Pregunto esto no tal vez por mala, sino porque yo justamente estoy perdida. Entonces, o sea, por
Because
ejemplo, si sé
I'm not asking this to be mean. I'm doing this something similar, but you can follow the final statistic here.
esas otras que dentro de nuestras sabidurías
What are the other ones within our wisdoms that we have that can be provided? And how can we locate them? To also myself, guide myself. That's why I'm asking, because it also helped me. What is important here is the intentionality of this question. When we're speaking about approach, we're talking about what sustains this, what perspective. How are we presenting our methodology? Based on what I'm looking to the population. Objects of investigation. That's an approach. That's a perspective on how to guide that. And that's a research based intercultural that takes from us the women and the towns, the indigenous towns, and the communities as subject, a political subject, as key actors of the research, as the owners of that research, of that knowledge, in harmony with their context, their territory, their cosmos, their knowledge, their history. So what I'm asking is, from what we're talking about, is that approach from dialogue and knowledge and collective knowledge based on the wisdom of the elders. But the wisdom of our towns is uniform. When I'm talking about approach, that's where I want you to tell me not so much a technique. Or when I talk about methodologies, it's not the technique. It's interview as a technique. That's fine. But the methodology is it's a path that I'm going to be taking, and that's how we're doing, and that's where the talk that's what I want to be able to state there for you guys to before you start this. What methodology? What do you believe? For example, when you tell me, Samai said, I can't pronounce Samai. If you can remember the word, Alikausai. She understands that. She knows what Alikausai is. And she's going to give us a definition of that, the methodology that she's going to be using, and the recovery of those form of generating knowledge that they had in her town. That's one of the elements of the steps of the methodology is to give the Alikausai. So she's going to tell us what that is. And she's going to be telling us the steps. These are the steps that we're going to follow. We're going to do dialogue, consulting, permission prior to all the moments from that approach, from that methodology, as indigenous women. And that's a great challenge that we have. That's what we're looking for. It's not saying to forget about other methodologies, but to try to be able to give a sense and content to what we know and what we know exists in our territories. And that's an element that's very important that we need to take advantage of. I'm going to take advantage of what's about to start talking about that part to you so that we are a bit clear the methodological approach. And we're talking about participative that allows us to have to that approach. The epistemology of the town, the approach that they have, the knowledge that they have, that combines the research, social research, with the building of these documents, making it participative, that is ethical, that is transformative, that it generates awareness, that is an educational process that is collective and critical, and it belongs to a process that's political. And then the different approaches that we have. I'm going to stop this presentation right here. Let me stop here. Let me stop sharing. Here, I want to make more emphasis on the approach that we're doing is wisdom and knowledge of women in the original town, of the good living. That's the approach that we're talking. That's the recovery of the knowledge of the towns that we have in the town, and that we are able to take this, give sense to that statement. And that's here what we're looking at. Here we can say that the approach is going to come from the pedagogy of the Mother Earth. It's going to be Mother Earth, the cosmos, and ecology of the knowledges. That's part of our approach. When we talk about that, it's educating us, it's teaching us. That's what we're learning. How does the water teach us? How does the earth teach us? That's an element that we're talking about. Saying how we go from one knowledge to other, and collective knowledges, and the knowledges that are in the towns, in the community. And other element is we're talking about the cosmovision and the realities. And it's based on the cosmovision that there is in the community. We're going to do the research for about in Africa, Asia, or Latin America. I can't tell you just do this, because that's what you do in one place. What's the cosmovision? What statements are you putting in Africa, in Asia, in Avayala, in those territories where you're going to be doing your research? And that has to be there when I ask in those approach. Another thing of the approach is putting the perspective of rights. We're not going to talk about a research that only generates information. No, our research is to be sustained and stating that women, indigenous women, and the original towns and Mother Earth have rights. And that's what we're coming about when we're talking about the pedagogy of Mother Nature. And of course, it is sustained on the wisdom and customs of life, historical and current, of the women and the people. And that's what we refer when we talk about approach. Let's say it's a colloquial analog.
Y ahí es donde quisiéramos que apareciera esos propios enfoques, esos propios planteamientos del pueblo.
Those statements that we want, that's what the approaches that we want. And the other towns, the regional towns, where you are going to do your analysis. And taking into account these elements, please, that we're proposing. That is not owned. I don't know if that's clear right there. What do we mean by approach? It's the scope, it's the route that we're going to guide us. Because I can say I'm going to, based on the approach of investigation, social attribution. And that's going to state something else.
Where the perspectives of people and their wisdom is empirical, it's not science, and where the population is seen as an object of an analysis. And here we are going to position another proposal. That's an element of the focus of research. Also, when we talk about the focus, we're going to say, I'm going to ask Dunan to let us know when the time is up. We're going to think, when we talk about a focus, in a horizontal relation and from the peoples and women. So our research focus is going to place us in a horizontal position. I am not more than this position, than this community. I am not less. I add myself to the process and dynamic of these people. It's going to be a participative focus that is collective and of an intergenerational dialogue. It's not that I come here and boom, I'm going to sit and the lady's going to go to sleep because I've talked a lot, but we're going to dialogue, we're going to share, and where the different generations are going to be present. And there will be space only for grandmothers and grandfathers. There will be spaces for the youth, for children, and other collective spaces. And that's our focus. Our focus is also going to be based on those feeling, thinking, cosmo knowledge in the language and the codes that exist in the communities and the peoples where we will do research. And it'll be based on the dialogue and the confidence and in waking. And I would love for you to draft your own focus or your own point of view. And if you want nurturing from that knowledge, where we can come in and have that dialogue of knowledge, because children have knowledge. Even with colonization, youth, grandmothers, those are the focus of, that's the focus of our research. Another part of the focus is that listening from the ears of the soul, emphasizing what sometimes isn't said, but it's expressed with movements, with other ways of expression, and be able to see with the eyes of the soul and from different perspectives. That's another element of our focus. How do I come into this reality and say they're behind, they're subdeveloped because the animals are in the kitchen? They live in conditions of poverty. I would have to see with a different pair of eyes. That's what we refer to of focus in the methodology. To work this part, because I think time is already upon us, I would ask for you to see the presentation. You have it in the Moodle. That's going to give you some information, and we're also going to enrich it. And we're going to start our next session with finishing this part, and also that you conclude. I'm going to ask all of you to continue working these 3 questions that are in the homework. Not all of you have done it. So let's make the effort not to repeat, but to create, to recreate, and to provide thoughts that are based off of what we're talking about. Samai has the floor, and we finish with that. I'm sorry that I'm taking more time. Welcome. Thank you. Yes, I think ask you if there are some examples of previous research that we can read and have as a reference, not to copy it, but to have as a reference to even improve the methodology. That's it. Thank you so much. I am very much clear about the focus. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to present, or maybe I'm going to socialize it in the chat, even if it's only going to be in Spanish, the focus and methodology of a proposal, so that you can use it as an example. It's not something to copy. I'm also gonna give it to Dunan so that it can be translated, and this could help you. This can help you. I also think Angela already started her tutoring, and I think we're in tune with Angela. And of course, we might have some differences, but I think we complement each other really well. And the tutoring that I'm going to start with you as well will emphasize that. And the next session, we're going to go more in depth in this. I just ask you to please do your homework. There's another exercise. I don't know if Noonan, do I have more time? No, okay. I'm going to send it to you via chat. The exercise that's coming up that we also have to work for the next week. I'm not going to present it here. It'll be up in Moodle, and it'll be sent to you so that you can work on it as well, please. Here, we're going to recover, or I emphasize that that we try to write from ourselves, from our own cosmovision. Let's take the risk of breaking down those walls without denying what exists. We're not going to make things up, but we're going to recreate, and let's write and weave not an amount of words, but things that are profound, that provide new elements for our research. So the exercise 1 and 2 will be uploaded to Moodle, so that you can work on it, and we can move forward on this part. We're also going to do some follow-up during the tutorings. Thank you so much. Happy day, happy afternoon, and go ahead and rest for those of you that are in the nighttime. Big hugs. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.